Hello and welcome. Today we're going to learn how to factor easy quadratics. Easy and simple quadratics. So what I mean by easy and simple quadratics is just, we have x squared plus 10x equals negative 25. This sort of thing, not any crazy numbers or stuff like that. So in order to factor this, we bring everything to one side. So I'm going to bring the 25 over. So x squared plus 10x plus 25 is equal to 0. You always want to put it equal to 0 when you bring it over. Now, in order to factor this, what we need to do is get two numbers that equal the product sum. So what does this mean? So product sum. Make a table right here real quick. So if your teacher has not taught you, basically you need to know that this is the A term, this is the B term, and this is the C term. So the A term will always have a number and the x squared. The A term will always have that. The B term will always have a number and just the variable x, and the C is just a number by itself. So know what the A, B, C's mean. So what the product sum is basically two numbers. It's two numbers that when you multiply them equal to the product of AC, but that when you add them equal to B. So let me write that down for you. So two numbers that when you multiply them equal to the product of A times C, but when you add them they equal to B. So let's look at our terms and what we have. So in this case, our A term is equal to 1, and we always look at coefficients when we look at terms. So we don't look at the variables, we look at the coefficients. We know that our A is 1, our B term is equal to 10, and our C term is equal to 25. So I need two numbers that when you multiply them equals A times C. So let's A times C is equal to 25, and B is 10. So I need two numbers that when you multiply A and C will equal 25, and when you add them they will equal 10. So from this information we can conclude that the two numbers will be 5 and 5. When you multiply 5 and 5 they equal 25, which is the product of AC, and when you add them 5 plus 5 equals 10, and that equals B. So therefore those are the two product and sum. So product and sum. So once you have your numbers, then that's when you can start actually factoring this whole thing. So now that we have our numbers, what we do is we put a parentheses, and then you put the A term down. You put the A term, and then you take one of your product or sum numbers. Let's just take this 5 for example, and then you add a plus sign to it, plus 5, and then you add an x next to it. So you add an x, and then you close the parentheses, and then you open another parentheses, and then you put the other 5, the other number, add an x next to it, and then you take your C term and then add it next to it. So essentially what we just did is we just replaced the B term with both of the product sum numbers. So we have this. So now how do we keep factoring this? So now once you have both of these parentheses down, we gotta take the GCF out of both of these. So we can see that there's an x squared here and that there's an x right here. So therefore an x can come out because it's the GCF of this whole thing. You take an x out, and then what does that leave you with? That leaves us with x plus 5. And if you're unsure of, if you didn't take the GCF out correctly, then you can just multiply whatever you have outside, distribute that. This equals to x squared. So this equals to x squared plus 5x. And that matches the parentheses. So we have that. We have x squared plus 5. And then we look over here. 5 over 25. So right here, the GCF for this one would be 5. We can take a 5 out, and then that leaves us with x plus 5. That would be the GCF. If you multiply 5x plus 25, then that leaves then that would equal 5x plus 25. And yeah. So now we have this right here. So now we're not completely done, we're almost done. So now once we have this, an important thing to remember is that these parentheses here, they have to match. So they have to be exactly the same. If they don't match, then you did something correctly and it's not going to work. So now, since they're matching, then take one of these. So take one of these, so write one of them down. So x plus 5. And then what you do is open another parentheses, and then take the outside terms, and you just add them together, x plus 5. And that's the fully factored form of the equation. Now, if you're unsure of, the good thing about algebra is that you can just plug it in back in or redo the problem to see if you're correct. So if the original equation was x squared plus 10x plus 25. If you were unsure of how you did it, you can always FOIL this back in. And so FOIL, so this would be x squared plus 5x plus 5x plus 25. Combine like terms, x squared plus 10x plus 25. From here, this equation matches this. Therefore, we know that's correct. So that's one way of of seeing if you did it correctly. Another way you can check if it's correctly is you can check the value of x. You can get the value of x by putting this factored equal to 0 and then solving for x. So take one of the parentheses, x plus 5 is equal to 0. X is equal, that's plus. X is equal to negative 5. And now what you can do here is you can plug in negative 5 to the equation right here and see if that's correct. So negative 5 squared plus 10, negative 5 plus 25 is equal to 0. Negative 5 squared, that equals 25, plus 10 times negative 5 is negative 50, so negative 50 plus 25 equal to 0. And then follow your order of operations. So 25 plus 25 is 50, minus 50 is equal to 0, and therefore 0 equals 0. And that's correct. And so that's how you factor using the product sum method. So thank you for watching, and later on I'll be covering the quadratic formula. Thank you.